Hey everyone, welcome to the Mobile User Acquisition Show. In the Mobile User Acquisition Show, we feature interviews with the smartest folks in mobile and growth who share invaluable, actionable, tactical insights on every aspect of mobile growth and marketing, not to mention some adjacent areas just as well. The Mobile User Acquisition Show is presented by me, Shamant Rao, CEO of the mobile growth marketing firm Rocketship HQ, and produced by Karishma Sundaram, our superstar content marketing manager at Rocketship HQ. Each episode includes strategies, tips, and pointers from the leading edge of mobile growth marketing that you can use to unlock tremendous growth for your app in a sustainable and capital efficient manner. One of the things we've changed our mind about in the last few months is incrementality analysis based on media mix modeling. So even though we had some initial skepticism, and we even talked about some of this in our earlier episodes, we now do definitely believe that incrementality models based on MMMs is a huge part of marketing measurement, especially on iOS where measurement is fundamentally broken. Yet, in our own day-to-day use of these models, we've noticed that these are not silver bullets. These models are but one tool in a marketer's arsenal, so it's helpful to be mindful of the limitations of these models, even though these models can be enormously useful. In today's episode, we will talk about some of the practical challenges that we recommend that marketers should be careful about as they implement MMM-based incrementality models. We also recommend some ways to mitigate some of these limitations below. Without further ado, here we go. Number one, correlation is not always causation. If you're starting 3 different campaigns on Facebook, you're increasing budgets on Snapchat, you're starting to test a new channel, and it's Black Friday, and you see an incremental lift in your revenue or installs, it's just hard to isolate which of these inputs led to your revenue lift and which ones did not. Some models do have techniques to estimate the individual contributions, but you still have to be careful about the workings of these models, and you have to be careful about the fact that you don't always conclusively know this. So the solution to this is intentional experimentation. How we recommend mitigating this is by being intentional about the experiments you run and the impact you measure from these. So if you want to measure the impact of, let's just say, a CPA campaign on Facebook or a new channel like Taboola, make sure you're making a big or significant change in just this channel or just this optimization type or just this campaign, and try not to make huge changes in the rest of your marketing mix too much, right? Challenge number 2 is that creative impact is hard to isolate. Most models typically account for changes at the campaign and the channel level. And what this can sometimes mean is that creative changes are not directly accounted for by these models. This is understandable because models find it hard to account for very granular changes, like at the creative level, where spends can be small compared to the campaign or channel levels. But then creative is a very, very critical lever in impacting marketing performance. So not measuring creative impact can be a huge handicap for marketers. The solution we recommend is to bake creative changes into your experimentation cadence. As mentioned above, intentional experimentation is a big part of our approach. Because models don't naturally account for creatives, we make sure to bake creatives and creative changes into our experimentation cadence. Practically, here's what that looks like. If an early creative concept is showing some promise in early testing, perhaps on Android, what we do is set it up along with its variants, or set up a couple of winning Android creatives in a completely new campaign, give it significant budgets, and measure the incremental impact of this as a part of our experimentation cadence. And so hopefully if that is a breakout winning creative, you will see the impact in your results. Challenge number 3
is that platforms' learning phases can muddy results. So you might run an experiment with a new campaign, channel, or optimization type that may eventually be hugely incremental. But because of the way the platforms operate, the campaigns do need to accumulate enough signal before they start to perform and yield results. And this is what's typically alluded to as the learning phase. This is certainly very much the case with Google UAC. It's true to a lesser extent with Facebook, but it's certainly the case with many programmatic channels. What all of this means is that you might sometimes see poor incrementality, but that could just be because the platform is in its learning phase, and you might just make a wrong decision about how incremental the platform itself is, or the campaign or the channel itself is. Right? So the solution is to give experiments enough time to allow platforms to get out of their learning phase. What we try to do is make sure we give platforms at least a week or so after big changes to make sure that the changes stabilize and there is some stability in and consistency in performance. Right? So this avoids the trap of poor performance just on account of the learning phase that may not necessarily be driven by the underlying health of the platforms themselves. Challenge number 4 is that results can be inconclusive. Sometimes we just see results that are not clear wins or clear losses. You might see incremental installs, but a cannibalization in purchases as a result of starting a new campaign. And you might wonder if this is not even because of the new campaign, but because it was a weekend or a holiday or the end of the year or what have you. So what is clear is that incrementality analysis is not a silver bullet. It isn't always going to give you a clear-cut signal in the way that deterministic IDFA-based attribution used to. It's a different thing that deterministic attribution had a different set of problems. So it's important to realize and be prepared for occasional ambiguous results. The solution is to use incrementality models alongside your traditional deterministic reporting or scan reporting if you're doing this on iOS. We typically review incrementality analysis alongside scan metrics because both of these provide one part of the picture. We try to combine insights from both to inform our next steps. For instance, we see inconclusive incrementality but strong scan performance, or see strong incrementality but weak scan performance. We often double down on a channel or campaign, or we also sometimes re-experiment with this in our incrementality experiment cadence. In summary, especially in the absence of identifiers, MMM-based incrementality analysis are a big step forward for measurement, but it's important to note that these are not perfect and that it's important to think through ways to mitigate their limitations.
For more tips, pointers, and strategies from the leading edge of mobile user acquisition, subscribe to our YouTube channel right here, or check out our blog, rocketship.hq.com/blog.